What's up, everybody? This is Devin Lloyd, linebacker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You're listening to the LCC Network. Go Bucks.
Hey everyone, welcome to Commissioner's Clubhouse on the LCC Network for episode 18 of the LCC offseason as we enter the deadline for GMs to enter their team into the 2022 rookie draft, which will take place the following weekend. So this episode, like you can probably imagine, has something to do with the rookie draft, and that something specifically is rookie draft player rankings heading into this. I'm thinking next week. Haven't totally decided yet. I had pre-planned the episodes, but we missed a couple. We missed like 2, I think. But that kind of threw everything off. So haven't totally decided what to do with this next one yet. If it's going to be more of a mock draft for the rookie draft, or what we'll do. But we'll figure that out once we get there. So let's dive into it. So again, reminder, deadline to enter the rookie draft this Sunday, which just so happens to be June 5th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time is the deadline to get those picks in. So the way it works in our league, you give up a draft pick from what most leagues would call their veteran draft, although we allow teams to also draft rookies in that draft. Enter that pick in the rookie draft, and then the draft order is determined by who wagered in the highest pick, or the most valuable pick, that is, to be more specific. And what I always tell people is don't get too overexcited about rookies. And you're going to see in my top 25 list here, because I did 25 players, mixed between IDP and offensive guys, that some of these guys I wouldn't even take, but I did a top 25 list anyways, needless to say. So that's pretty much it. That's the only headlines we have going in this, other than rumors of Deshaun Watson getting suspended for half the season or the full season. Not sure yet, or at least haven't had time to look today. But yeah, so here we go. It's just me tonight also, so let me just throw that out there before we dive into this. Probably you could have figured that out by now, me talking this long in the episode. All right, but let's launch this, the 2022 LCC Rookie Draft Rankings. So first up for me, number one, and I think this is the case for the majority of websites you go on out there, Breece Hall, running back, New York Jets, first running back drafted and all that. I mean, he should be a day one starter in my opinion, assuming things go well. I mean, there might be some sharing going on in the backfield, but I still think Breece will be the guy going forward. I think he's worth a first-round pick in this year's rookie draft. Although I don't know if I would do an early first unless you were really desperate for one. So not much to say there. I mean, I think that's pretty obvious, right? Ken Walker III out of Seattle, another running back. Again, I think everyone's kind of 1 and 2 guys. They're both running backs. I think he's pretty good. I have seen some people rank him a little bit lower and put receivers ahead of him. But again, I'm going based off LCC scoring. So you're going to see receivers. There's actually more than I thought in my top 25 list. I didn't count them all, but I would say possibly a third are receivers, believe it or not. And so I think Ken Walker III, though, is in a situation in Seattle. They don't really have a good quarterback, that is. They don't have an excellent offensive line. They've got actually a decent receiving core. But with no reliable quarterback to throw the ball, I just wonder if Walker is going to get the box stacked against them. And with Seattle probably playing from behind most of the season, I don't know how much he gets utilized in the later half of the games. So whatever you get in the first half is going to be the predominant piece of your scoring each week when getting him. So I don't know if I would take Walker in the first round, in my opinion. I think he's more of like a late second round pick, in my opinion. That's probably where I would get him. My next player here, Whoo, man, this is the first IDP player, and normally I wouldn't put an edge rusher this high, but Aiden Hutchinson is just a different animal in Detroit this year, coming out of the University of Michigan, first round pick. Obviously, dude, Aiden, he really should have gone 101 to Jacksonville. I really think they messed up by doing that, but good storyline, I guess, for the Detroit Lions and the NFL for a guy playing at the University of Michigan going to Detroit, Michigan to play in his NFL career. But Aiden Hutchinson, if we weren't so loaded with defensive ends and edge rushers in the LCC this year, going into the offseason and everything, I would say Aiden Hutchinson's arguably worth a second-round pick. However, again, there is a ton of edge rushers in the offseason waiver wire and in the rookie draft and in the regular draft. So I just don't think you have to pay that much for Hutchinson. I think he's going to be great this year. He's going to be great in the future, but I wouldn't go any earlier than a third, in my opinion, for Hutchinson. There's just too much depth in this pool to be really going all in on Hutchinson, in my opinion. Next guy up, Drake London, wide receiver out of Atlanta. I cannot believe I put a wide receiver in my top 5. Drake London just happens to be in a great situation where he's like the only deep threat Atlanta has, in my opinion, and they got him pretty early as well. The only thing is, they don't have a quarterback. I mean, that's my worry with London, and I don't even feel comfortable putting him in my top 4 like this. But I just God, dude, the target share is just there. Like he should get a ton, and I just think Drake has the potential to be actually pretty good as a rookie. Where would I draft him? Definitely not the 3rd round. I don't know if I would go 4th, in my opinion. Maybe 5th. Maybe the 5th round. And the issue, guys, here is that, in our league, when you draft a rookie in the rookie draft, you cannot cut them. The only way you can get rid of them is if you trade them. So if Drake London isn't a day one guy, if he's not producing, what have you done? You know what I mean? So just keep that in mind, getting any of these rookie receivers. So my other guy, and I am absolutely in love with him because of the team he's at, the history of just great IDP players coming out of this franchise. Quay Walker coming out of Green Bay is an inside linebacker, projected starter. I think that, obviously they've got some depth at linebacker right now. I know if Jordan's listening right now, he's like, I can't believe you would put another Green Bay linebacker this high, but I really, really like Quay Walker. I think he could be a guy that does pretty good, honestly. He should be a day one starter for the Packers. However, we know this, right? I mean, IDP players typically aren't going to produce all that well for the most part in year one, their rookie season. Quay, you may have to give him a year before you get top-level talent, but 100% worth drafting. I would actually draft him over Drake London. However, I have Drake London rated higher than him. And I wouldn't be surprised if that happens, if Quay goes in the first 4 rounds, potentially. Number 6 here, we got Kyle Hamilton, safety out of Baltimore. I mean, enough said. This guy, right now he's actually not the projected starter, but I think he will by week 1. I think Kyle Hamilton he's the future of that secondary at safety. I just think you really can't go wrong with drafting him. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes as early as the 5th round in our league. So great pick there. In fact, I don't have another safety in my list until a little bit later in this. So we're just going to keep it rolling here. Dameon Pierce. I have him rated higher than most people would say is, most people would not have him in their top 10 when you include IDP players. But Dameon Pierce and Houston running back, I just think that he has a real shot at being a starter by week 1. However, he's currently 3rd on the depth chart, but it's like they got Rex Burkhead, they've got Marlon Mack. I just don't know if I really believe in those guys, and obviously Houston doesn't either. Otherwise, they wouldn't have drafted Dameon Pierce. I really like him. I think he's worth Probably like a first 4 or 5 round pick. I really do think that whether he goes that early, who knows? There's actually a reasonable amount of running back depth in this year in our league, so which is shocking, I think, to a lot of people, including myself. So we'll see. But I love Dameon Pierce here. Next up, and by the way, this ranking isn't how I think these players are going to get drafted. I'm talking about how impactful they're going to be at their position, and how well are they going to produce in year one, and going into year two even. So it's just kind of like a, all-encompassing ranking, basically. Next up, Devin Lloyd is a weak side linebacker in Jacksonville. He should be a day one starter. I really like him a lot. I have a couple Jacksonville guys here in this list, and the next one's coming up, actually, and a few more players. But Devin Lloyd, I actually like him a lot. He's going to be really, when I say will linebacker, he's really going to be more of like an edge type deal because Jacksonville is kind of using it a 3-4, but I do think it could be more of like a hybrid type situation for them. So yeah, I like him a lot here as a top guy, and I think some people would think I'm crazy for having him this far back. I mean, there are people who have him as a top 2 IDP player, top 3 even. So, whatever works for you. But I'm a little further behind because I think he's got some room to develop here. He's a great athlete, but does he have the talent to produce that in the NFL level? I'm not sure. Next up, Garrett Wilson, my next receiver here, and 2 receivers in my top 10. I can't believe I said that. Wide receiver out of the Jets. He is he's another player in a situation where they don't have a lot going for him offensively, and I think Garrett should get a good bit of target shares. I think he should be impactful pretty early on in the year. I don't know if it's going to be a week 1 situation, maybe week 5 or so, but I think Garrett Wilson is another guy potentially worth drafting if you're looking to add some depth at receiver. Number 10, and people would think I'm crazy for this too, Kayvon Thibodeaux, I might be pronouncing his name wrong. Edge rusher for the Giants, drafted from University of Oregon. They got him very early. He should be a day one starter. And guys, you can tell already. I have 4 edge rushers in my top 10 rookie players. So what does that tell you about some of the other guys I've mentioned? Is that you do not need to pay the big bucks to get a guy like Aiden Hutchinson. Feel comfortable falling back and getting a guy like Kayvon here, who should be great in New York, I think. Number 11, we got Nakobe Dean, linebacker from Philadelphia. Should be more of like an inside guy from what I've read, and actually should be starting in week 1 too. So Nakobe Dean, I think that we all saw this NFL draft class didn't have a ton of linebacker depth, at least interior linebacker depth. And that's why I do kind of worry about Nakobe Dean. Like, is he going to be a long-term solution for them? Because I didn't think really any of these guys were all that great, in my opinion. But they don't really have a whole lot going for him in the inside linebacker position. So I think Nakobe Dean, just by default, could end up getting a good bit of tackles. Number 12, and I think some people would laugh at me having him this high, and I'm laughing that I have another receiver here. Number 12, I've got Chris Olave, wide receiver, New Orleans. With Jameis Winston, we've seen it. He can support a 2 wide receiver system. We still don't really know what's going to go on with Alvin Kamara, too. I mean, if Alvin Kamara gets suspended for a little bit, we could end up looking at a situation where, Chris Olave maybe gets more targets because Kamara's not. Number 13 here, we got James Cook, running back, Buffalo. I think other people would have him way higher than this, but we've seen it. Buffalo's offense can't really support a true running back. Plus, I got Devin Singletary. I think it's been more of a committee thing. And when you add in, just the entire offense itself, I just don't know like how much he gets used really, even though he's a really good player. So we'll just have to see. But I'm a little lower on James Cook. I really wouldn't get him that early, in my opinion, but someone definitely will. And I think most people would disagree with me having him here this far back. And just to put that in perspective, he is my running back 4 in terms of rookie running backs. Troy Anderson's number 14 for me, inside linebacker for Atlanta. He's more of a long-term investment. He's not starting week 1, at least projected. He's not projected to. I think Rashad Evans is their other guy, starting beside Deion Jones. I think Troy, though, has the potential to make that splash to the starting role at some point in the year. We'll see how that works, but I think Atlanta saw something in this guy in the draft, and they really liked him, and I think Troy could be the future going down the road. So definitely a guy. I don't know if I would get him early, but definitely worth drafting in my opinion, but more of a long-term investment. My next guy here at 15, we got George Karlaftis out of Kansas City. He's an edge rusher. This guy, another edge rusher, I know. I mean, this is deep. That's why I wouldn't get into these guys too early, because there's so much depth here in this rookie draft in itself. I think he's going to be good, but I don't know if you're going to want him as your number one dude. I think it's going to be more of a depth piece, a long-term investment for you going down the road. And for the most part, that's where all these other players that you're about to hear kind of fall. They're going to be more of a depth piece for you and a long-term investment. I got Christian Watson here in Green Bay only because of the fact that Christian landed in a situation where there's no receivers at all in Houston. So I think that just by default, or not Houston, listen to me, Green Bay, I think just by default he should get a lot of targets, and Aaron Rodgers, of course, is going to be throwing that rock. So look out for that. I told you it'd be a while before we had our next safety, and at 17 with Jalen Pitre? It's Pitre. I don't know. Out of Houston. He's a projected strong safety starter. And I think we all saw it last year. Houston couldn't do anything offensively. I don't think they're going to do anything offensively this year. But as a result, their defense will live on the field. And I think Jalen gets a lot of passes thrown in his direction and could get a ton of tackles. I really like him. I would probably draft him as early as the 6th round, maybe 7th round, depending on your situation and your needs. Treylon Burks is my number 18 guy. He's a receiver at Tennessee. The only reason I have him this low is because Tennessee's just not a pass-oriented offense. Ryan Tannehill, I don't know. I'm kind of lukewarm on him. He's a good enough quarterback, but I just don't see Tennessee really throwing the ball enough to make Treylon Burks a year 1 type of guy. I think he's going to be more of a year 2, year 3 player for you. So do not expect a whole lot, in my opinion, out of Burks this year, despite the shakeup at receiver they've had this offseason. 19, we got Jaquan Brisker, strong safety out of Green Bay. 2 Green Bay players right now, actually 2 IDP players though. Jaquan Brisker is a strong safety in Green Bay. He should be starting. I like him a lot, obviously. I think that defense is pretty young, honestly, overall. So I think because of that, Jaquan Brisker has a chance to really be a day 1 impact player. And another guy would kind of look between that 6th, maybe between 6th and 8th round, probably. George Pickens is my number 20 guy. I'm curious to see if Cody grills me over having him this late. Receiver out of Pittsburgh. They don't have a lot going for them at receiver. They don't have a lot going for them at quarterback, in my opinion, either, with Kenny Pickett under center. And they have Mitch Trubisky, of course, I guess. But, I mean, either way, I'm not crazy about it. And I'm not crazy about rookie receivers to begin with either. So I just think George Pickens hopefully gets better QB in year 2. But maybe he can make some decent plays here in his rookie season. Number 21, and I actually kind of like him a little bit higher than this, but Lewis Cine, is a free safety in Minnesota. He's a projected starter, starting beside Harrison Smith. Harrison Smith's getting older. I'm interested to see if they use Lewis more in the box, kind of like in the later half of the year and stuff. I like him. I mean, definitely worth rostering, worth getting in the rookie draft, because, again, he should be starting. But I'd get him a little bit later because they do still have Harrison Smith, the strong safety, who's going to keep eating up tackles. 22, Skye Moore, wide receiver out of Kansas City. Skye is good, But Kansas City, of course, has a lot of weapons in their offense still, in my opinion. I know they lost Tyreek Hill, but I just don't think Skye can really fit in that offense. I mean, at best, he's probably wide receiver 3 in that offense, which is still pretty good. If you think of those Sammy Watkins years a couple years back. But I think Skye, we'll see. We'll see. Again, more of a long-term investment. So we'll see how that goes. Number 23, inside linebacker for Houston Texans, who's Christian Harris. He's more of a long-term investment because Christian Kirksey is a projected middle linebacker there still, the starting middle linebacker. But I think Christian Kirksey, they don't have a lot invested in him. So I could easily see Christian Harris beating out Christian Kirksey for the starting role at some point in the season, or maybe even the offseason. In fact, I mean, Christian Kirksey may not make the team. Who knows? At number 24 here, we got Jermaine Johnson III, edge rusher from the Jets. A long-term investment again, but I don't know if he gets the majority of the snaps in week 1, but I do think he works his way into that starting role to where by the end of the season, this is a guy that you're super excited about in 2023. So if you have, or you're thinking you're going to have a locked and loaded week in, week out starter at defensive line, consider Jermaine Johnson in this draft, because my prediction is that in 2023 we will actually see a depleted defensive line player pool in that draft, because I think you're going to see a lot more kept this offseason, just due to a lot of guys hitting the free agency and everything next year. Well, that's it, guys. I tricked you. I thought I had 25 players, but I actually had put Drake London on my ranking. Not Drake London, sorry. I had Devin Lloyd in my ranking twice. That's how excited I am about him, I guess. But, yeah, so 24 players. That's still pretty good. If you're asking me how many do I think get drafted, honestly, I could see 24 guys getting drafted, but I don't think 24 are worth drafting. I would say maybe 20 are worth drafting, in my opinion. In the rookie draft, that is. But that's all we got, guys. Thanks for tuning in. A short episode, but hopefully an easy one to listen to. Have a great weekend, everyone, and we'll catch you the week leading into the actual rookie draft.